Good morning, everybody. Just want to say thanks again for everybody who is watching these videos. These are pretty fun to do, and if I can help somebody or maybe inspire someone to do some recycling or pick up, component repair, that's pretty cool. All right, so today we have this hard drive. This was actually in a tower, and as the tower sits, you got your motherboard. This was installed this way because it didn't have a proper 2.5 inch drive bay. So anyway, it was like this, and he was replacing his power supply, forgot to unplug this. So it was kind of down here in the back, and when he did it, it pulled it out and broke that piece there. Okay. So dug through this is a bit older one with the 4 pins. That's kind of an older style, but in my recycling, I found a replacement. So we're going to take this off of here and put it on here, just for the sake of data recovery. Because once this, you could use it, I guess, but once this has been worked on, I don't know, man. I don't think I would mess with it after that. Okay. Also, I noticed in editing the other day that I clear my throat a lot. Hope that's not annoying. I have allergies and fighting a bit of a cold. So, sorry about that. Anyway, let's get these apart. First thing we're doing is using a small screwdriver to take the donor board off of this. See, if this is not recoverable by this means, then you'd have to get a replacement board, and then you'd have to remove the BIOS chip and hope that works, because sometimes it does not. So at any rate, so we're going to take this entire thing off right here. Now this is plastic, so we are going to try, I think what I'm going to try to do is put some low melt solder into here and then melt it from the bottom. I'll throw some tape over this right here to try to protect this plastic the best I can, so we can get the heat just right here along these right here. If I hit this from the top, it's definitely going to cause some damage to this plastic. Now, I don't really care about all that so much, but this is not going to be reused. But then again, we try to be careful, I guess. Put these right there. Okay, so donor. I have to remove this one first, and that'll give me an idea if that is the correct way to, the most efficient way to remove it. Put these right here. It should be pretty straightforward, really. It's just a simple solder, microsoldering type of thing, and with the heat gun or the heat tool, yeah, that and flux and just being careful should handle this no problem. Then once we're done, we will test it to make sure that we have a working connection with this board. There we go. All right. See, interesting though, these boards, the actual board itself is pretty much identical, but of course the chips different. This is probably the BIOS chip here, whereas the BIOS chip here is probably that one, most likely. At any rate, all right. So we got to take this one right here off. All right, this is the drive we're saving. This is the drive we're not. All right, and so I don't know if you can see this. This one here has a bit of just a tiny little plastic break right here, but that's okay. We're just wanting to connect these two right here, and those look fine. Okay. All right. So let's look under the microscope, see what we can see. There we go. Yeah, not much holding this on as far as, oh, there we go. Not much holding this on as far as solder goes. This appears like it might be a little bit of glue. Maybe. At any rate, that'll come right off, no problem. And it's a lot of connectors right there. Okay, so first thing to do would be, like I said, to get some lower melt solder in here, so that way we can lower the overall melting temperature of all of these pins. All right, so we're going to do all of it. Put some flux on here to start. There we go. And we don't need this piece right here, but it is part of the plastic, so wouldn't take much to ruin this connector. So hopefully we'll get it out without too much trouble. All right, now we got proper amount of flux. Now, this is the broken one we're taking off, so we're not terribly concerned about ruining it. So with this one, I might just try to take it off from the top. And see, some of this plastic here, this right here, some of this plastic is a little bit more robust than normal soft plastic that you would see on like power connectors, fan connectors on a motherboard, things like that. Some of it, but sometimes you get this almost like a PVC or some sort of poly plastic that seems to hold up better under heat. All right, and we'll just try it with this. All right, first thing, I'm gonna get some solder kind of placed around these. Yep, low melt solder. It doesn't matter if we bridge any of this, it's not a big deal. I mean, we can cause all sorts of problems and it's no big deal. We just got to be careful about all these components next door. Yeah, these, we want to stay away from those as far as putting too much heat there. All right, now we'll move up to this section here. I actually have a piece of solder, that's all that's left for that piece. So I'm just going to lay it there and just kind of go over it like this. Wow, that looked almost professional. Look at that. All right. And for anybody that hasn't seen any of these videos, the point of putting more solder on this, of course, is to lower the melting temperature. These things come from the factory with a melting temperature. I'm just going to say an arbitrary number of, let's say, 250 degrees Celsius or so, let's just say. And then the solder that I use, let's say it's half that. So if this solder that I use is, let's say 100, let's say, I mean just 100 Celsius, and that's 250. If we mix them together, we can lower the overall melting temperature down to something in the neighborhood of You average it really 250 plus 100. That's 350. So like 175. And it in some of these videos you'll see that makes all the difference in the world sometimes. Makes it a lot easier. So I'm not seeing this plastic melt, and I'm touching it kind of on purpose. So we might just be able to use some heat from the top. That would be nice, because that's the easiest way to go. All right. I'm really putting a lot of solder on here. I don't really need to do that. But, you know, it's all right. Put just a little more down here. We will get this all cleaned up once we're done here, and then prep it for the new one. Yeah, so it does melt the plastic apparently. See? All right. Okay, so now we've got plenty of solder on there, and the best way to go, I'm going to say the best way to go here is going to be to I'm going to say go from the top and just go back and forth, back and forth. Cover this with some heat shield type of tape, which is this yellowish stuff you might have seen on some motherboard parts sometimes. So we will put this across here. I'm just removing this, so I don't really care. This is more of a kind of a beta test to see how well this comes off using what we're working with here. Okay, so it doesn't really matter if we melt this a little bit. It's not going to be the end of the world. Get these cut off here. Trying to make it so that there we go. Trying to make it so that it doesn't cover up the ends here. All right. Well, let's see how well this does. So we want to have some positive pressure while we do this. So I think I'll use these larger tweezers and kind of put them right there and lift up when we're good to go. All right. I think maybe I'll switch to microscope so that way you can kind of see it melt. Hopefully we can get it that close. All right. Well, boy, that's a tough spot there. Okay, I think I can maybe like that. That should be safe. Try not to get too close to the microscope lens with this heat. But this will also give me an idea of when it actually starts to melt. I've got it at 400 degrees Celsius, 40% airflow. It's tough because I can't really get around the edge too well. But we're getting melting, which is good. We're just not getting it all the way across at the same time, and that's what's tough. I am pleased how it's holding up though over here. As far as the plastic. All right. Okay. So we got it off. You know, and that plastic really held up well, really well. So the next one, just for the hell of it, I'm going to see about removing it without flux and without extra solder. And you know, I guess I could just use the same tape. It's already, ouch, it's hot. It's already ready. Oh yeah, that plastic held up very nicely, so that's good news. Ready? Let's see here. I am not too worried about it now. Okay. I think maybe flux would be a good idea, at least. All right. Okay, let's work on this one now. Now, this is the board that's a donor board, so we're not too terribly worried about this board, you know, moving parts or screwing that up at all. But we'll get our tweezers in there. And let's see, probably here is probably here. Maybe here is probably the best spot to look at. Okay, here we go. All right, now this is the removal of the donor piece, so we're going to be real careful. Now, you might notice on the other one how quickly it melted. I've got this right on top of this and it's not even moving. Well, not really that much. This is why we lower the solder temp. I mean, it's going to work, but it's just going to take its time. And it takes its time, plus it solidifies much faster. So I'm just trying to get this one part off. And then, there we go, look at that. And then I got that. And then I'm going to work it towards this side here. It'll come up some more. There we go. And then finally, this corner should have it just about. Something's holding on over here. There we go. Okay. Now, the reasoning behind not using extra solder on this one was because check out how clean this came off. See? That's why I didn't use solder. If you look at the one we took off and compare it, you want to avoid getting solder up in this area here. Well, let me see, because if you have to touch it up at all and you get solder back here where you can't really even see it, and it can connect clear back into here, and once it gets way up in here, it's almost like game over, kind of like this right here. Okay, that's why I took it off without any extra solder. Okay, all right, now step 3, we've got our part. Now we need to clean. We need to clean all of this solder off. And how we do that is my favorite part. That is using the flux and solder wick. Alright, so gonna put a little flux on this. Alright, so we just need to put some get some solder. We need to remove the solder, and then when we do that, we also need to tin the pads just a bit so it will accept the old or the replacement piece. And one thing about that is that the old piece still has a little bit of solder left on it, so that should make things kind of a lot easier. It almost works in our favor. I'm switching the tips to my flat tip, my flat tip on my soldering iron, which works much better with my with doing my solder wicking. Whoops, there we go. All right. This has a chisel tip and it's kind of wider, which is a lot better than using this little pointy thing. So surface area is better. All right, make sure it's clean. Okay, while it's doing its thing, we will let it do its thing here. Putting it back on is going to be super easy. I mean, it will, once we get it on there, we can tack it down with the tip of this on one end like this right here, and then we can heat it up and tack it down in a second spot, and then just hit it with heat and all of the connections should kind of find their way. All right, I think we're good. Let's get under the microscope and clean this up. All right, so why not? I'll start on this side. Move this so you can see better. Right there we go. And ideally, you want to end up with that. Nice clean pad. This ought to be interesting. I'm gonna try to do this like in one run here. There's a lot of solder right there. That's a big old ball of solder. Can you tell? Look at that solder wick. You haven't seen it like that. All right, cut some more clean off. Brilliant. It's exactly what you want to see. Now we'll get this last little bit and then this corner right here. Boy, I really did put a lot of solder on there. Maybe a little, probably more than I probably should have. All right. Gets hot too. Last little bit, and we will be ready to rock and roll. See, if I was using the little pointy solder end, this would not be quite this smooth at all. All right, I'm gonna try one last little time to get this with some, without cutting it. Look at how that just wicks it right up. You ever think about somebody owns a patent on this solder wick? just like somebody owns the patent on super glue, and their 14 generations of family members are living like super rich because of that. All right. Normally, I would put some alcohol in here, but you know, it's just data recovery. It's not a big deal. You know what? I'm going to do it anyway. I got to clean that pad off. Well, I cannot find my alcohol anywhere. Okay, well, looks like we're going to skip it. We're going to skip it for now. Okay, so let's tin these things. Put just a little bit of flux. All right. Now we got our solder, and we're just going to put a little bit. Ooh, that's hot. We're just going to put a little bit right here. Actually, let me clean that. We're not trying to put dirt back on there. All right, that's much better. Okay. Put a little bit of solder right there. Satisfying, yeah? It's kind of nice how solder flux just makes it work. Like, look at this. This is just plain old pads. Check this out. It's like so satisfying to watch. And if you get a bridge, you just go back over it. I mean, you can't beat it, right? I don't think I need any more solder. I'll just put the last little bit right here. Okay, guys, we have perfect soldering right here. As perfect as it can get, right? All right, I'm going to pause this and find my alcohol because my OCD is killing me right now. I need to clean this. Be right back. Ta-da! Found it. By the way, I just use a regular spray bottle here. And these are shop towels from Walmart. They're not cloth. They're not paper. They're kind of a mix. They're like super tough and pretty thick. These are the kinds you would see at Walmart listed under like shop towels or something like that. Like this right here. It's kind of blue. Those work pretty well. They hold up to what I put it through. And I used at least 90 to 98% alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, to clean. I do not dilute it. It's safe to use. All right, so clean the back of this here. Clean off my little area there. I just, while my bench is always a little bit cluttered, I don't like my actual workspace to build up too much clutter. Okay, so I just cleaned off this, look under the microscope. It's gonna look awesome. Check this out. Now that it's clean, tell me this does not look like it just came from the factory. I mean, look at that. Every one of those is virtually a perfect solder. You know, I owe it to a couple of really great YouTubers on learning this and how to do it right. That's relatively speaking, that's a very large area. I mean, I'm used to working with smaller areas, but that's a really fun area to work on because it's not that hard. All right, so here we go with our replacement. just like this. All right, so it's the same one. Okay, so how to do this? I'll tell you. What you want to do is do your best to kind of line it up as best you can. And there's a couple ways to do this. I'm actually thinking about doing it a slightly different way than I was going to. Got to make sure it's all lined up though. Yeah, that's fine. Once you have it lined up, you just hold it in place and you tack one end down. This right here, this end here is all by itself over here. So therefore, if you were to hit the rest of this with heat, which you could do, you could hit this thing with heat and it would not so much affect that one over there. You'd just be looking at these. But now that I'm looking at it, and as clean as this turned out, I am going to hit this with just a soldering gun, a soldering iron, because I think that will give us enough to get this data. Yeah, see, that's good to go. All right, so let's start with that. And I'm going to even keep my large tip here rather than use my pen tip. Clean that off a little bit. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna keep the one that I was using here and see how it goes. We can just start out here. All right. I don't kind of like that so much. There we go. Now, I'm just leaving it on top and pushing it down. So when I let go and if it springs up, it brings solder with it. In other words, it pulls the solder or almost wicks it, kind of. And so these should doing two at a time. Yeah, I think I like this better than using heat. And then the way to test this to make sure that we have all of these connected would be to you could push on them a little bit with tweezers or something, but in my opinion, the best way to do it would be to use a multimeter. Yeah, these all look good. I feel pretty good about this one, except for this one here. All right, then we got these few down here. This is for the power one. This was for the data. This is for the power, the small red or blue or black cords you see. This one was not broken. It was the data one that was broken. Yeah, okay, I feel pretty good. Oh, and here's the other four that we aren't really using, but we're gonna solder them anyway. I don't think they're actually even needed. I think this is the old school power connector, maybe, like a different one. Alrighty. It's kind of satisfying how it just kind of goes over the top. Okay, now, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just going to use a metal pry tool type pointer thingy to actually test these. Good. We just don't want to see them move. If they move, no biggie. We will just go back over them. See, that's moving. That one's moving. That one is not. All right, so what about that? I'm going to put just a hair more solder on this tip, just a little bit. All right, we will get these so they're all perfect. See, I'm trying not to bridge these two. I don't want to do that. That's why you have to go through, even though it looks perfect, you know, sometimes it's not. That's why you go through and just double check. All right. Now good, good. Is that good? Yeah. Good. Good. And even if some of these are moving, sometimes they're just fine. They just look, they look like they're moving, but they're still touching the pad. And for the purposes of data recovery, no big deal. So, what would you say when it was just, if it was just those last two that were bad? That says I rushed at the end and I wasn't really taking my time maybe the way I should. The last two. Okay. Looks good. Now, we take our our drive that we want to fix right here, and this goes back on here like so. Got to get it just right. There we go. And look at that. Brand new. Okay, so fun story. I'm in bed with a couple recovery labs that do data recovery for me. Every single estimate I've got from them has been in the 4 figures, albeit lower 4 figures. And also, I get a certain negotiated discount with them, so I pass that along to my customers. So anyway, what I just did, 20 minutes, 25 minutes? It would have been quicker if I wasn't talking the whole time. So if this wasn't a video to kind of show you how this is done, then it would be different. But this is what they would have charged. I don't know, $1,000, $800 at least, which we did in just a couple of minutes. Now, remember, you're not paying someone like me for my time. You're paying me for my years, not minutes. Or not hours. That's how it goes. You're not paying for my hours. You're paying for my years. So you're paying for experience. So understand that sometimes people are going to charge you an arm and a leg. It's not that they're gouging you. We also have to remain competitive with other businesses. All right. So let me grab a docking station, and then we were going to test to see if this works out, see if this drive is good to go. So stand by. Okay, guys. I was going to use one of those plug-in USBs, right? But I'm confident enough of this soldering job that it will not break if I put it into a regular docking station. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, it is spinning up. So now what we do is we'll go over to the computer to see what happens. So if I plug this in, here we go. It sees something. Let's see if we actually get it talking to this drive. Sometimes it takes just a minute. Okay, folks, sorry about that last little bit without audio. What I was explaining was that my docking station actually reset all of my USB devices This did not. I tried it in a different computer. It's not this. It's that docking station and the computer that I'm using. It's probably because the USB hub that I'm using isn't powered, so it just sucked too much power and reset everything. So we missed it, but you did see just a few seconds before that you saw the files pop up. So, long story short, this drive is now working. Saved this customer, saved their data, which is really not, you can't put a price on it, and then saved a lot of money to actually repair the drive itself. So that's a good thing. Listen, thanks a bunch, guys, for watching my videos and subscribing. I do appreciate it. I really enjoy doing this sort of thing, and I really like problem solving and things like that. It's a good thing. And learning, of course. We got a couple more videos coming up soon. One more, or I not one more, but we have the next e-waste to eBay, and I think everybody's going to really like this one, because this one coming up is a game changer as far as profit goes. It's a bit time intensive, but that's all right. We'll see how it goes. So we'll get this one wrapped up, get it uploaded, and we will see you on the next video. Have a great day.